people still want to work with me. So how can I create a program that's going to help people grow, become better, and become peak performers, but from a laptop?
Good afternoon. This is Eric Leclerc over at Push Press. We are continuing our In the Trenches series, our discussion around the topic of leadership, but not just leadership as far as staff development and ownership, but also personal leadership, and sometimes taking that step out and deciding it's time to build our own brand, or it's time to go out by ourselves and create something, oftentimes from nothing. And so in my own personal journey, not only have I had a chance to coach an amazing amount of people, but through that process, I've got a chance to meet young and up and coming coaches and trainers, folks that kind of have grown up behind like the time that I've built the gym. And so today's guest, he's family, plain and simple. And I've had a chance to watch him go from student and athlete to businessman, to entrepreneur, to coach, to owner, to like every step of the way. So for those of you guys that don't know Bryan Beal, welcome, buddy. Go ahead and let our audience know who you are and kind of what you're up to.
Right on. What's up, everybody? My name is Bryan Beal. Thank you for having me on, Eric. So Eric and I go back years and years. Let's see, 2006. Yeah. So my mom started in your very first CrossFit, and she was actually involved before your CrossFit. She did your boot camp, and that's when I got involved in your boot camp. I was in the 7th grade. And the 7th grade, and you were like, what kind of shoes is he training in? No. We need to get him new shoes, Rose. Because I was wearing like some crazy boots and we were running, and you're like, no, we need to get you new shoes, dude. So I got my first like pair of actually like training shoes because of you. And that's like kind of what really started taking it off and being like, okay, I got to start taking this to the next level, And then went through high school and obviously was super involved with the academy, Team CrossFit Academy. And then honestly, through the academy, through my family and through my upbringing, just strength and conditioning and sport performance had been involved in my life, as well as martial arts, things of that nature. And then college came around, and it was like, oh, what are we going to study? And so exercise science kind of fell right in my lap. And it was something that I just fell head over heels for and just went running for the fences, and was involved in a lot of studies for exercise science and biomechanics. And then from there, kind of once I was done with school, it was venturing out. I'm sure like all strength and conditioning coaches, it's getting out there, getting on the field, interning, waking up early, going to bed late, working for free, doing all that, bending over backwards, working with the professionals just to get noticed and recognized, and saying like, put me on your social media, put me on your website, and getting involved in that way. And so rode through the trenches in that realm. And then eventually started working under different people, and then realized like, hey, I want to create something of my own, because you start to pick up all these things and you realize that, hey, I have something to offer and deliver that other people are not. And so I started kind of like getting in my mind and being like, okay, I think I could do this, right? But meanwhile, through that time, I was coaching at different places. For example, Create Monsters and F45 and other different places that would, give me some income while I can start to build the brand, which I've created today. And it's called BXA, or Building Extreme Athletes. So that is my brand today. So it's a little background.
Dude, talk about a journey. I mean, you've had a chance, not unlike a lot of folks, but at the same time, you've had a chance to experience like the collegiate side. Walk me through, because you've earned your CSCS, correct?
Yes.
For those that don't know what that acronym stands for, can you walk us through what it takes to earn a CSCS, and then what that allows you to do here in the state of California?
Absolutely. So the CSCS is an acronym for Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. It's a certification under the NSCA, which is the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So a lot of words, pretty wordy. But essentially, you just have to have a 4-year degree. It could be a degree in any program. But they prefer something along the lines of, health promotion, exercise science, biomechanics, something like that, exercise phys. And then once you've completed that, then you can then test for your CSCS, which has about a 38% pass rate. And to be honest, I didn't even pass the first time. It's a 2-portion test. It's a 5-hour test. I took the first portion, I passed. I didn't pass the second portion. So I had to retake the second portion. And so that just goes to show how strenuous it is. But essentially, once you pass that, it opens up the doors in many different ways. You're then allowed to become a strength and conditioning coach for a collegiate team, easily for high school teams. And it just gives you that it's basically like passing the bar if you want to be a lawyer. So it's kind of like the pinnacle of sport performance training for the strength and conditioning coach.
Right.
And honestly, it is something amazing to have. But at the same time, you do not have to have a CSCS to be recognized. There's a lot of trainers that I know, specialists that I know that don't have the CSCS and are amazing. Right. And there's other that have it and don't know how to apply. Right. Yeah. Exactly. They know, how many grams of protein I should be eating if I'm trying to gain muscle, but then they can't apply it in the gym setting, or they can't teach it to someone else.
Right. So there's no ability for them to create a level of context or traction, even though they've gone through the course and taken the test.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's a very good thing to have, but at the same time, you always gotta check your coach, make sure he's doing it right.
Right on. Okay, so let's go back even a little bit farther than college. I've had a chance to work with you, and you've had a chance to kind of grow up and fall in love with the barbell and fall in love with just the environment, but on both spectrums, the group environment and also the one-on-one environment. Learning under both of those camps, if you will. Today, what's your favorite? Group environment, team sport, one-on-one? So what does BXA allow for you to do?
Okay, so it's funny because before I was a very heavy one-on-one guy, right? I'm very particular, very big into biomechanics, and very I look at, the whole body. I'm not just saying squat, but where are we positioned as far as the rib cage, the pelvis, and I'm really meticulous in that regards. And then I started to realize from a business standpoint, it's like, I can coach one person an hour, or I can coach, 5 people in an hour, maybe have their own set of program and be able to be more efficient, help more people gain, and have better athletes in that nature. So I always started with the one person model. And then over time, I've created the more team model, which has been very successful. I also love working with sports teams. So I was the head strength coach for the women's lacrosse team at La Costa Canyon High School. So I would run all the teams through their strength and conditioning program. And I love the team atmosphere. There's nothing like the energy. The feeling. You're the Monrovia track and field, football, and 13 other teams throughout the year. So the team environment is something huge that hits home for me.
Right.
Through the quarantine coronavirus whole pandemic, I've really had to kind of sit down and think, okay, what's going on, right? The gym that I was planning on opening is no longer going to open. Right. The gym, the F45 that I was currently the head coach of, it closed for the meantime. So I had to think.
Don't remind me to come back to F45. We'll come back there in a second.
Okay. Yeah. So during that time, I was like, dang, everything's kind of on hold. People still want to work with me. So how can I create a program that's going to help people grow, become better, and become peak performers, but from a laptop, essentially. So through this time, the coronavirus, essentially, I've created a peak performance program that is all online. And it basically is a strength and conditioning, nutrition, and a mindset program. And I've been able to create a system where I help people online and help them reach their goals without having to be with them. And it's been a crazy pivot, and it's super hard. And I'm creating a trainer eyes right now so they could see me move, so they understand what they're doing. And it's been a crazy pivot, but it's been a success. And I have 3 clients on the program now, and they're absolutely killing it. and I've been able to put all my energy into these 3 clients. So I've been able to, one, charge more because I know that they're going to get the value from the training, from the programming. And it's nice because I am not in the gym, and now I have more free time. I have more time to work on creating the model now. So that's been the pivot. It's been crazy, but it's been well worth it.
It's been mind-blowing to me to, not only through our series of In the Trenches, interviewing coaches and gym owners and trainers but also just the people we know out there in the land of social media, how many gym owners are not planning on returning to the brick and mortar space. Whether they either, like you, were planning on opening a gym, like you had the space selected, you had, I think, the gear acquisition ready to go, you were ready to sign the lease, you had partnerships, you had other like, I think the last time we spoke, you were ready to pull the trigger. Yep. And that would be February or March. And then all of a sudden, everything shuts down. Some of the coaches I talk to are in your exact same shoes. And they said, listen, the relationship is truly what matters. And if I can continue to provide that relationship, if it's distance through the internet, online, Zoom, Trainer Eyes, True Coach, Train Heroic, or whatever platform you use, you get to do exactly what you said. Scale operations down, less individuals, higher price point, higher value, higher service, and now the freedom of not having the overhead at the gym.
Exactly.
Let's dig in on that, because I think that's going to be huge for the audience, right? Mm-hmm. So top three biggest failures. If you were to have to assess that whole brick and mortar piece, look back at it, give me your 3 biggest, damn, I wish I would have never done that.
Okay. So I think it was first kind of just looking at all the previous business models, right? Like looking at family and friends and other coaches that I've always looked up to, and seeing their success, right, through the brick and mortar, through the gym. That's how I gained the momentum and I gained the energy. I seen you, Eric, and I seen TCA grow, and I was like, you know what? I love that. I love the model. I love the community. What I didn't realize was everything that came with it, right? The overhead, the space, the little space of $5,000 a month. And then, my apartment is, say, give or take $2,000. So then now I'm $7,000 in the hole every month, and I'm only 26 years old. And then just thinking of that number is just the scariest thing ever. So just the fact that it didn't go through is almost a blessing in disguise, because I know I would have been successful. I know it, but at the same time, it's like, that's a lot to take in, because then now I have to make more and more in order to keep growing and keep growing.
Oh, dude, let me tell you, there were months. I mean, our high water mark to keep TCA running month to month, I think our high water mark was like 32,000 to maintain operations, everything from operations. And that includes everything from, taxes and payroll and insurance and, all of it, everything, including the owner's draw, right? So of course you take yourself into consideration. But I remember my wife looking back at that going, those are some pretty tough months, and that's not even expensive. There are gyms out there that are necessitating $50, $60, $70, $80, $100,000 a month to operate. So I'm kind of glad you dodged that bullet. Give me 2 more. What else?
Oh, and then another thing is kind of, finding your niche in the world, right? It's like, you have Betty that's 60 and she has knee pain and she loves you. She wants to work with you, but then you have teams coming in and you have all these athletes, and then you're a one-man show. So it's really kind of figuring out, which route do you want to go? Like we talked before, do you want to be doing classes? Do I want to have like a group setting class? Do I want to have my teams come in? Do I want it to be more team specific for the high schools and colleges? So it was really kind of, finding out which route where do I go? Like what is going to pay me? What is going to be the most success? But how am I going to be able to help the most people at the same time? So you have this conflict of, do I just take a bunch of one-on-ones all the time? Do I create classes? Do I create teams? So just a lot of, kind of just figuring out. And that was kind of the phase that I was in. And then everything happened again.
Sure.
Last one, for my, what was it? My lessons or?
Yeah. Or like biggest mistake. I mean, you figure hindsight's 20/20, so we can look back and be like, oh man, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah. Biggest mistake, not working for anybody. I'm the kind of person that I just feel like when I work for someone else, like my light is dimmed. And I'm not saying that I want to be on the spotlight, but I have a very particular way of doing things and coaching. And so if I have to like hear or just kind of be directed in a way that maybe I don't agree with, or just to avoid conflict, and
Right.
at the same time, just the cap, I've been coaching for $25, roughly $25-$30 a class, which is great. Like that's great. But then you realize, if you kind of take a step back and you go, what am I worth? What is my value?
Yep.
What do I think I deserve to be paid? And what value do I bring to the table?
Right.
You go to 24-hour fitness and a lot of people are paying, $1,200 a month to sweat and burn calories and do all these things. But is it the most effective? Is it the safest? And is it the best type of training? So then you realize like, hey, maybe I'm not charging that. Maybe I'm not going to be charging that for some time, but where do I sit, through there? So I would say,
yeah, exactly. And obviously with BXA, you have a chance to scale operations and scale like the opportunity to create the right package at the right price point to reach the right client.
Mm-hmm.
So today, I mean, obviously that's completely different. You still have a role and a relationship. Like I said, we'll go back to now F45. Are you managing the facility where you're at or where you were at? Because they're done now, right?
So we actually just opened back up. But through the whole coronavirus thing, I picked up a client in the morning because we were closed. But originally I was coaching from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. Every morning, 5 classes. And I was the head trainer there, and it was amazing. The community is amazing. The people are amazing. But then once Corona or everything hit and then we closed, we finally opened up again with minimal class schedule. So now I coach 2 in-person classes and then 1 Zoom class every day.
Okay. Can you share with the audience at whatever level you are able to speak about F45? Can you share their model? Like what is F45? Also, what is from a management standpoint, kind of like their back end, size of the facility, equipment layout, roughly how many members you have, what's the price point? Can you share some of that stuff?
Yeah. So F45, I'm sure most of you know, it is one of the most lucrative franchises and one of the top franchises in the world right now, actually. It started in Australia about, I would say, 10 years ago, give or take. Don't quote me on that. And then it moved to the States, and now people can buy their own F45, right?
Okay.
I think you could get going for, I think it's like 200,000 or 300,000. What you have to do is just purchase your territory. So you look at the territory list, you go, oh, okay, Oceanside's available. I'm going to get Oceanside. And then you just put the down, and then you can get going. Basically, once you're going and everything's built, the built out is done and you're ready to go, you essentially have a 45-minute workout. It's a 45-minute high-intensity, amazing workout. It alternates between strength and cardio days. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday is cardio. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday is strength. And Sunday or Saturday is a hybrid day. And basically, you have your station. It's different now, but I'm just going to say how it was originally. You have, say there's 9 stations. You'll work at each station for an allotted amount of time, and then you'll rotate to the next station. You may do that, 2 laps, take a water break, and then do another 2 laps through. It is on the strength days, you could see the timing to be a little bit different, maybe 35 seconds of work and 25 seconds of rest. You would see more complex lifts, right? RDLs, shoulder presses, bent over rows, things of that nature. Lighter barbells, so they're not real barbells. There's like kind of smaller style barbells and things like that. Dumbbells, kettlebells, balls, pull-up bars, TRX, suspension trainers, anything you could think of, but just a little bit smaller in size, not so heavy, more functional, right?
Size because it's got to fit a certain square footage on the floor, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
The square footage for most of the places are about They're not big at all. I would say 12
Like,
to 16, 12 to 1600 square feet.
yep.
One bathroom, no office, pretty small. The members range from anywhere from 250 to 350, depending on how many classes there are.
Say that, 250 to 350 members at the facility.
At the facility, right.
And what options for membership packages?
So you can do a month to month. Okay, so this is roughly around what most or all F45s are at. So a month to month would be about 225 to 250 a month.
Okay.
So and it's charged bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks you would get charged whatever that is, like 110.
I'm going to do math. I'm going to do some math here while we're having this conversation. Say that again. So 250.
So yeah, let's call it two. I think it's 220. I think it's 55 a week. So it'd be 110 every 2 weeks, 220 for the month.
Yep. Okay. And that's month to month, no contract. And can I come to any class I want for that?
You come to any class you want. That's a month to month contract. It's a 30-day cancellation notice.
Can I come twice in one day if I'm crazy?
You come 3 times in a day if you're super crazy.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right.
And then so once you're locked in, you have 30 days to cancel. So it's technically a 2-month contract.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You have a 6-month option, and the 6 month it goes down to 50 a week. So then it'd be 200 every month for the 6 months. And then there's the 12-month contract, which is 45 every week, 90 every 2, 180 for the month.
So what you're telling me is that you've got a small square footage, you've got massive client number, and you've got one of the highest price points for group exercise in the area. Mm-hmm. And can you believe that there are still CrossFits out there today that are struggling to charge their clients $105 a month? Yeah.
And not to mention, I missed probably the best part of this business model, and it's the technology. And that's what
right?
That's what separates F45 from every other functional fitness or boutique fitness rather gym. Yep. You have TVs up on the screen. And so there's a man on the screen, his name's Corey G, and he'll be on the screen and say it's a jumping jack. He's doing the jumping jack. And so you're looking up at the first screen, it's station 1. He's doing the jumping jacks. You're at station 1. You look down, there's your number. You're doing the jumping jacks. The screens will then say rotate. Then you walk forward, station number 2. It's mountain climbers. Corey's on the screen. He's doing mountain climbers. You're doing mountain climbers. So not only do I, as a coach, not have to go around and be like, oh, station 1, you're doing jump. Oh, station 2, they already know what they're doing. Now I can come around and making sure that, the core's tight. You're creating torque with the hands. And we're dialing in their movement patterns because I'm not worried about showing them the movement. I'm worrying about making sure that they're neutral in the spine. They're not collapsing in the knees. They're doing the patterns correctly.
Because I think that's probably one of the only biggest criticisms of not just F45, but even CrossFit is that because it's such a high volume of folks in a class, the movement patterns have to be scaled down, and then so is the quality of coaching. Would you say you've seen some great coaches in F45 that you've worked with?
Yes, there are.
Yes,
there are. I mean, the thing is, it's hit or miss. There are great coaches. But then there's other coaches that just don't know how to coach. But if you do know how to coach, it's a place where you can excel because, like I say, you're not running around telling everyone what to do and yelling, you're doing a clean. They already know they're doing a barbell clean. Now I can just go there and dial them in. Right. And for the most part, right? So say there might be two people at a station and they're both facing the screens. So I could stand right in front of them and now I'm coaching these 2 people on the same movement. Right. So I'm saying get the elbows up, elbows high and wide, and then quick elbows through. And so now I'm coaching 2 people. They're looking at the screen, or they were, but now they're looking at me, and I can really kind of get that focus. So everyone's facing the same direction at the screen. It's easier for me to coach. It's easier for me to cue. And it causes less injury and more efficient training.
Right. So if you did 5 classes or 5 45-minute segments, so they would you'd have the 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. class. How many folks per class were you working with? 10, 20?
So, so I was coaching all the classes by myself, and it was just because the girls that, shout out to Steph and Jess, the queens of Encinitas and Oceanside, they're the owners of the gym. They just trust me and believe in me so much, so they would just give me the classes straight out. And so I would coach anywhere from 27 people at a time per class.
Wow. So that, is that the Floorspace max 27, or was that just
27 on? Yep, 27 is max on a strength day, and 36 is the ultimate max on a cardio day. But you would see less equipment, and it would be more like an inchworm, seal jacks, mountain climbers, shoot throughs, things like that.
Man, so you had a chance to grow up in a sport environment. You had a chance to grow up on a barbell. Now you've seen the franchise version of moving people through exercise. And today with BXA, what have you learned from your time at F45 that you're like, man, those lessons matter. That's important. I'm going to keep that with me, if at all. Is there anything that you're going to extrapolate from your time at F45?
I would say, as far as the business model, I highly considered the business model in itself. Yes, F45 and creating my own, but I would just say, I really don't think that there is anything from F45 personally that I would take from it, because I've been in so many different realms, through the CrossFit, the sport, and etc. It is a great exercise. It is amazing. It gives great results, but eventually over time, there is no rhyme or reason to the programming. Right.
I was gonna wait until the very end and ask about it. I mean, because obviously
that's the
programming and developing in scope. It's just general circuit. That's it, right?
Exactly. And so that's the flaw of the program. And not many people see that until they start to plateau. It's like, how long can I work for 40 seconds of work and 20 seconds of rest doing a barbell RDL over and over and over again with the same weight, give or take, the same reps, the same, And so eventually, people are going great, 3 months, 4 months in, my heart rate's getting better, my cardiovascular is getting better. And then they start to go like this, and then they're kind of teetering off. And it's because, like any scientist or any great strength coach, it's like, if we don't have numbers, if we don't have, if we don't have the data, exactly, right? We're not gonna progress, or we're not gonna get better, or we won't know how to maneuver or tailor the program to change the game.
Right, because you can't tailor their programming, right? F45 dictates the programming every day.
Everybody is doing the same exercise around the world every single day.
Right.
Every single day.
I'm glad you were able to see that early on. I mean, obviously you've grown up under a lot of different coaches that have probably challenged you to think about program design and assessments and what is appropriate for certain folks. Has F45 answered that? Is there like a second version on the horizon? I've been hearing some conversation about a different variation. You said things have been changing. Can you shine a light on what could be down the road?
Well, unless they've been hearing me talk, I don't really know how much they're going to be changing anytime soon. But as far as the change today, instead of rotating, you're just staying in your square now. So
that's COVID restriction thing, right?
Restriction, right? So now you have your set equipment, and instead of being like, okay, I'm in station 1, I'm now moving to station 2 and then to station 3, I just stay in my station, and now the screens rotate. And then now I'm like, okay, I'm picking up my dumbbells, I have my bent over row. Next station, I have, my rear delt fly or whatever it may be. So in regards to load and intensity and rep range, those don't change. I think what would benefit the program personally is that, but also is adding in some type of mobility superset, right? So say you do because stiffness, tendon, joint stiffness, muscle tightness is all happening because it's very high intensity. It's loading, it's jumping, it's hopping. And so I think a great move for them would be like in between, say we're doing like a barbell front squat, in between that, add in some type of hip mobility work, add in some type of it's any type of mobility work, a downward dog, a 90-90 hip opener, something to get the members moving in a dynamic, flowy way that's not under a load or that is not high impact. And I think a lot of progress could be seen just by changing it in that manner, not necessarily changing intensity, load, reps, etc., but just bringing in some type of like dynamic variation can really propel.
I totally dig it. Man, well, listen, if we talk in the vein of leadership, you obviously have had a chance both from your school setting and also from your social setting to grow up underneath some really, really good coaches. Any takeaways? Because what I mean by this is that one day you're going to be either hiring or building coaches, right? So creating it through intern programs or, partnership programs or whatever. What are the characteristics you look for in competent coaches?
Someone that is educated,
okay,
has knowledge, trustworthy, empathetic, and confident.
Confident in their ability to like help and see.
I think confidence in themselves.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How about the flip side? You've probably run across a lot of folks that you're like, ooh, not gonna train with this guy or not gonna train with this girl ever again. How would you bridge that gap if you were the owner or the general manager and you had to have a dialogue with a coach who was kind of being chaotic or being reckless? Anything that you could any like hard conversations you've had to have with coworkers or coaches? How do you have that? Especially because like if I have an opinion and you have an opinion, how do you create that?
Right, finding the middle ground, right? Well, I think first sometimes is just recognizing the issue and kind of being nice about it. Obviously, right? Is it an ego thing? Is it what you learned in the past? That you're just so hard on. Is it not being open to other ideas and kind of just breaking it down and finding, okay, why do we have this disconnect? Right?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it me? Because the first thing that I want to know is, what am I doing wrong? Why do we have a disconnect, and how can I change or put my ego aside, leave my shoes and my ego at the door to make this relationship better? What can I do? And then it puts it on me so they don't feel like they're attacked. Then once I can get some advice, and whether it's good or bad, whatever it is, I'm going to take it. I'm going to soak it in, and then I'm going to deliver what I think and how I feel towards you. And I feel like if instead of pointing the finger at myself first, they can open up and feel more comfortable in explaining or communicating back.
Right on. Man, well, I've loved it. I sincerely appreciate not only the journey, but who you've become, how you've matured. And obviously, I'm excited to see what BXA will become here. Maybe we get shut down again in California in a week and no one's training anybody again. But using this platform today, or using our audience today to get any messages of hope or inspiration out, if you could use this platform and speak on behalf of now an entrepreneur, a coach, a professional, a collegiate athlete, a collegiate coach, what would you share? Any message or any inspiration that you'd like to leave the audience with today?
Absolutely. It's actually something that I've been working through and focusing on personally. And I think that every coach or upcoming coach or entrepreneur can take is just knowing your worth. It's as simple as that, knowing your value. What do you want? And what is your value? And don't let anybody say that, hey, this is your cap, or you can't make that program, or you can't do that, or you're not worth that, because I feel like, especially in the strength and conditioning in the fitness world, you have these beliefs, and you're scared to maybe put out your content or put out a program or pivot and change the program because you're so used to just coaching classes. But it's more than that, and people are more than that, right? And so it's just knowing your worth, and that is the one piece of advice that I've really been honing in on, is just knowing, I know I provide great value. All of us coaches provide great value in our own way. And so it's understanding that, and then being able to go out into the world and being like, this is what I'm worth.
I dig it.
Let me get you there.
So if folks dug into to your content today, and they were interested in maybe following up with you, how can they find you? Are you on Instagram? Are you on YouTube? Are you on Facebook? How can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, but you can look me up on Instagram. I'm Beal_the Vibes, so BEAL_ and then the Vibes, so THEVIBES. And then you can also find me at Building Extreme Athletes on Instagram. But like I say, over the quarantine and everything, I've pivoted from the sports teams and strength and conditioning, and now I'm kind of more towards the peak performance online program, but you can see all that through those Instagrams. And then I'm actually launching my YouTube very soon here. It's kind of, it's my pup. It's in the process of being launched. I got a bunch of great videos coming out. Things for low back pain, knee injuries, necks, people that are desk jockeys and things of that nature. So a lot of good content.
I'm now sitting at home in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, man, seriously, from a family member to a family member, thank you so much for coming out today.
Of course, Eric.
Sincerely appreciate learning always from coaches, friends, family, and watching you grow from 7th grade, obviously now all the way to a fine, upstanding young man, now contributing and giving back to our community. So thanks, Bryan.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure you like our channel, subscribe, and check out our other videos right here.